I was in law enforcement for 24 years. I was a deputy, and I was on a SWAT team for a while. I was on a drug task force, ended up being a police chief. After I got my Alzheimer's diagnosis, it changed my life. I was scared to death, and I'm not used to being scared like that. I've done some really dangerous things, but I never experienced something like that to where this could grab me and kill me. I can't remember things like I used to, and I mean, it's your most precious thing that you could have is your mind and your memories, and if you don't have those, then what do you have?
It was a shocking thing to hear that someone so young and vibrant, he was a very physical person. He still is, but unless something changes in the way of medications, I'm assuming that that's going to go away. And it's hard to see that.
It's an awful disease. It's just, I hate it. It's just not something I want to have. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
They told us about the Alzheimer's Association, and Mike and I started with an early onset group, and it's been a lifesaver.
I learned that there was a lot of people suffering just like I was, and it made me feel like I wasn't alone anymore.
The Alzheimer's Association has three major missions. One is research and funding research. The second one is public advocacy, and the third one is support for families and support for people with the disease through their helpline, through their group therapy.
It's invaluable to me. You learn a lot of coping skills with the support group.
It's not only the people getting Alzheimer's that are affected, it is the families and the caregivers, and it's growing. And this disease is fatal. Many of the other diseases that people get, such as cancer or heart disease or lung disease, people can survive those, and the survival rate is getting higher and higher. However, with Alzheimer's disease, you die, and there is no cure right now.
It's a tremendous personal and social hardship, as you can imagine. It's devastating for patients and their families, and it's also devastating for our society because our society is aging. We all know that the baby boomer generation is now getting into their 60s. So right now in the United States, we would estimate that there's around 5 million people with Alzheimer's disease, and of course 2 to 3 times as many caregivers. And then over the next 30 years or so, we would imagine that that number is going to go up to the area of 15, 16 million people with Alzheimer's disease in the U.S. So this is a tremendous problem for us, both in terms of human suffering and the kinds of problems that individuals have to deal with, and it's also a tremendous problem for our society in terms of the actual economic costs that it's going to result in. So a very, very big problem.
I know that my mind is not as sharp as it was, and I'm losing it. And it's a steady lose. I worry about my wife caring for me. So, I mean, it's not you that just has a disease. It's everybody that's included in it. And I'm really thankful I have a lot of people that help me. Alzheimer's Association for me has just been wonderful, so you have all these friends, and it's just very comforting in ways.
It's the best thing that's happened to us since he's been diagnosed, the Alzheimer's Association. They have been there for every step of the way, and then some.
One of the major breakthroughs in studying patients with Alzheimer's disease is that we can actually visualize the amyloid protein that's in the brain. We think that this amyloid protein is an essential part of the disease. Many people believe it's the cause of Alzheimer's disease. It may or may not be, but it seems to be a very, very early event. And we can actually detect this amyloid protein now in the brains of people who have no symptoms. So we have a tremendous opportunity to try to study the very earliest stages of Alzheimer's disease, identify people who might be in these stages before they have symptoms, and intervene. This is a practical reality now. We can do it. The problem is this stuff is very, very expensive. Every bit of funding is crucial right now, and the Alzheimer's Association plays a big role in that.
Alzheimer's on the whole is just a wonderful association. They've invited us to do speeches, which has been amazing. It's been a great experience for both of us.
I did a lot of things as a policeman that were very satisfying, and it's very similar to, the Alzheimer's speeches that I did, and the money that it gained, and meeting all these people, and letting them know that they're not alone.
Our involvement with the Alzheimer's Association does give us hope. That's just the bottom line.
I mean, being scared is something else, but then once you get to the point to where, okay, you can't be scared all the time, so I choose to fight and chase after it.
We can't just sit there and let things happen.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, you got to fight for it. You're not going to just lay down there and cry all the time and feel sorry for yourself. You got to get up and smack it around and don't give up.
It's hard to know what the actual time frame is, but what I can tell you is that we're at a better position than we've ever been in to be able to develop and test drugs in people before they have symptoms. And I think if we can cure Alzheimer's disease, we're going to do that by preventing it. And I think we are getting to the point where we can think realistically about preventing Alzheimer's disease.
I believe there will be a world without Alzheimer's, or otherwise I wouldn't be in this organization. We will continue to educate, continue to raise funding, continue to do research, and we will continue to help families with this disease, because we know that if we keep this up, there will be a world without Alzheimer's, and we will no longer need to have this organization.